Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Linda. Here on this channel, I share videos about sewing, pattern drafting and everything fashion. On today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to draft this dress you're seeing right here on the screen. If this seems like what you're interested in, you might want to hit the subscribe button and also turn on your notification bell for more videos like this. So guys, the first thing I did was to draft my basic bodice halfway through. So for you to start, just go ahead and mark your measurement at this point as a shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 8, and then I went ahead to connect it into a straight line with my ruler. Afterwards, the next thing I did was to go ahead and just mark the measurement for my shoulder slope, just as you see me illustrating. So you need to go down by 1 inch at this point, and afterwards you mark your armhole measurement like this. Half of my armhole measurement is 8 inches, so I'll just go ahead and mark the line and connect it with my ruler. The reason why I explained this in the framed video is because it skewed my mind to come down by 1 inch up for the shoulder slope of the main video, so I'm using this to explain more better. Okay, so back to our tutorial. I'll go ahead and impute quarter of my round bust, which is my bust circumference, and then I'll be marking it as 9 inches here. By so doing, it will take us to finding the midpoint for the armhole. So I'll go ahead and divide what I have here and then get the midpoint. Okay, from there I'll be connecting the 3 dots like you see me curving with my curve ruler. So that is going to become our armhole curve, and then the line you see me constructing is going to be my chest line. After that, the next thing you need to do is to take your bust span measurement, which is also known as your nipple to nipple measurement. Your nipple to nipple measurement should be included on your bust line, your under bust line, and your waistline. That is the 3 areas where we'll need to start to construct our darts from. So afterwards, you go ahead and connect these 3 dots into a straight line, making sure you stop at the bust line. Okay, so from there, we are going to be taking measurement around the waistline for our dart legs. So what I will do is just to take half of an inch on both sides like this, and then I'll just go ahead and connect it straight up to the bust point line. So guys, after getting your waist dart, next thing you need to do is to mark your neckline measurement. For the neckline measurement, I measured 3 by 3 inches. In some cases, you might want to make it deeper, so I went down by 1 inch more for my neck depth. So from there, we're going to be measuring what we have left on the shoulder and divide it by 2. And afterwards, I'll be connecting it straight down to the bust point. So for this part, I have 5 inches, and I'm going to be getting the midpoint and connect it straight to the bust point. After you're done connecting, the next thing you need to do is to go upwards by about 2 inches to 2.5 inches for your chest line, depending on the amount of coverage you want for your bust. Okay, so if you want your bust to cover up more, you need to add about half of an inch or 3/4 of an inch. For me, I added 2.5 inches. Cross-checking it from my shoulder, I have about 7.5 inches. And from there, you go ahead and connect your line with a straight ruler. So this is going to be our chest line, followed by our bust point line, then our under bust line, and lastly we have our waistline. So guys, the next thing you need to do is to mark 1/4 of an inch here. If you are busty, make it half of an inch. So just mark it on both sides and then draw a straight line from that under bust line straight to your waistline to create a new dart. Afterwards, just go ahead and draw a curve for your cup, just like this, and then you flip it to the other side and repeat the same thing. Make sure that your line is not too curvy, just slightly straight, because this is just a simple dart. So I'll just go ahead and just throw it out to make it smoother here, and then the next thing I'll do is to get and measure half of an inch on both sides around the chest line measurement, and also connect it into a curve with my curve ruler. This is going to give us that shape we are looking for in our bustier, and after you're done connecting, it should look exactly like this. And after that, you'll be taking away this part of the dart because we don't need it anymore. We're going to be closing the dart. So guys, now it's time to impute our body measurement. Starting from the bust and chest line, go ahead and mark the 1/4 of your bust circumference. For me, I have 9 inches. And I'll just go ahead and mark that and also include the dart which I'll be taking away. The dart is 1 inch, and also from there I'll be including my 1.5 inch general stitch allowance. I'll also go ahead and impute the same measurement on my bust point line. The only difference is that I'll not be shifting my darts because there are no darts in between. I'll also go ahead and repeat the same thing for the underbust and the waistline measurements. And I also didn't forget to mark my dart intake and my general stitching allowance. And afterwards, I went ahead to connect the lines at the sides with my ruler. So guys, after you're done with the body measurement, the next step is to measure our opening for the triangle above the bust. So I'm marking 1.5 inches here at the center front, and then at this other side of the bust, which is the side front, I'll be marking just 1 inch there. So what I have in total is about 4 inches. Make sure you have 4 inches there for the opening of the triangle. So next thing you need to do is to come up with at the middle like this, from this dart here, come up with by 3 inches. Then just mark a spot there where you want to connect your dots. So for me, I made use of 3 inches, and that's just the highest I can go. And then I'll just go ahead and connect the lines into a triangle. So guys, I've already gone ahead to separate the yoke from the bodice, and I went ahead to use a black marker to bring out the lines, and then I went ahead to cut it out. Getting towards the shoulder, I decided to add my shoulder measurement, which is the 1 inch slope for the shoulder that I didn't mark initially. Then I proceeded to cut out everything. So guys, after you're done cutting, it should look exactly like this. And then the next thing we're going to do is to cut out the back piece. So this is the yoke, and then this is the center front, followed by the side front. For the back, I brought out another fresh pattern paper. I'm just going to use my front piece as a guide to construct the back. So the first thing I did was to roll a line here as the zipper allowance. It should be up to 2 inches. Then the next thing you're going to do is to align your front pattern in such a way that it's not lapping on top of each other around the waistline, okay? Just like you see me pointing, make sure it's equal and it's laying side by side, not lapping on top of each other, okay? So as you can see, my center front is placed after the zipper line, and then I arranged my side front, and then I went ahead to trace out everything. So now for the back, the first thing I'll be doing is to trace out the back neckline by 2 inches, and then I'll go ahead and connect the curve with the curve ruler. Afterwards, I went ahead to trace out the sides, the neckline, before cutting it out. If you notice, I didn't add any form of dart allowance around the back piece. I just went ahead to draw it plain that way because I've already closed the dart when I used the front as a template. So now I'm just going to make sure that the lines are visible before cutting it out. Afterwards, the next step is just to draw out the lower pattern for the front. This is also the skirt pattern, which is going to have a basque effect. So for me to impute the measurements I have here, I'm going to be taking away the dart on the skirt. The skirt is not going to have any dart. So I'll go ahead and mark the quarter of my waistline measurement, and then I'll be adding my 1.5 inch stitching allowance. So automatically when I'm stitching this, there's not going to be any dart there. The only dart we'll be working with is on the upper part. On the waistline, I'll be coming downwards by 9 inches for my hip line measurements, and then I mark the spot there as a guide, and from there I'm going to be ruling a straight line for the measurement of my hip circumference. So guys, after you are done with that, the next thing is to take the measurement of your hip circumference, divide it by 4, and then mark what you got, including your general stitching allowance. And afterwards, go ahead and use your hip curve to connect the lines respectively. Then at this point of the waistline, come down by 6 or 5 inches at most for your basque effect. So I went ahead to mark 5 inch here. Then I used my ruler to draw a parallel line to this point to create my basque effect. So after you're done connecting yours, go ahead and cut it out. This is what it looks like after I was done, and then the next thing I did was to cut out the lower pattern for the back. So as you can see, I labeled it lower back, and there is the zipper allowance as well. I also labeled the front as the lower front, Now that our patterns are ready, the only thing left is to draft out the gathers for the skirt, and we're going to be doing that in our next video because we're cutting it directly on fabric. If you like this video, kindly hit the subscribe button and also give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the share button and the notification bell to get more videos like this. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye for now.